Hello everyone, today in this video we'll fight against the Atmas character of our world around us, and today we will discuss possible solution and I think only practical solution of the problems that now France is facing for the years of the stupidity of its political elite and nothing else. Because we cannot take a lot of social margin from other countries from completely different cultures and thinking that by living close to us they will be in one generation or two the same as we are, and thinking that social margin comes to our country only to work for us and to take care of our prosperity. And it's not true that all cultures or all types of people are the same and we are all great human family connected with equality, equity, and one big socialism is a salvation. Of course not. And now France faces this brutal truth on its streets. The riots were taking place on a large scale since 2005, if I remember, but now it's again larger and larger in size. So what to do? The solution would be really simple. Just use army, use police, anyone who in the districts where the clashes are taking place disobeys police, disobeys army is killed. Anyone who without permission in these territories possesses a gun is killed. All radicals are arrested, kicked out of the country. The worst criminals are sentenced to death. One needs to introduce monitoring of these societies with police and army agents who will report about different radicals from this or that side teaching hatred to the society and the state, and these people will be eliminated. Of course, proper education of the young ones is needed. That education, I mean making them aware that these extreme opinions that these radical teachers are teaching them are hurting the country in which they are living, and it's hurting themselves. And also another approach that should be done and can be done is to try to make some investments in these territories to a little bit elevate living standards and push people to work, not to sit on a social welfare. And it would work. Very similar approach, actually, in terms of main points I mentioned, the same, were applied in the Gujarat state, in which in the years 2002-2003, if I remember correctly, we had a very serious riots between religious leaders, Hindu and Islamic ones. So Indian government and the government of the Gujarat state applied these strategies. All radicals from both sides were eliminated, they simply disappeared. Some of them disappeared in jails, some of them disappeared for good, and young ones, people of course were re-educated. And Gujarat is quite well developed state in India, so the regions that were affected the most by these riots, some investments, it worked better or worse, but some investments were done to decrease the unemployment and a little bit increased standards of living. And for the last 20 years in Gujarat we have peace. And also in Gujarat the houses and neighborhoods in which the radical teachers from one on the or the second side of the conflict were living were confiscated or destroyed. This really ripped out all radicalism together with its roots. And now in Gujarat we have peace. Taking into account that this is state of India that has its borders with Pakistan, so with officially opponent of India, I think that the measures that Indian government and the government of state Gujarat undertook to handle this crisis were the appropriate ones, and the same measures should be taken in France and in any other countries in which such things happen. But the question is, do we really think that current ruling elite really obsessed with stupid ideology, mythology that all types of people are equal? Yeah, good person is equal to bad person, old person is equal to young person, woman is equal to man, and other idiocies. The people who are obsessed with such ideology and people who are sitting in the pocket of great business which is making great profits from illegal immigration among many others, do we think that they will be able to take these measures? I don't think so. What's the solution I see in such a situation? Solution is simple. Parliamentarian system doesn't work. There should be a sort of authoritarian approach or monarchy government, because in such type of government and society communities can live one close to another, and they can live in parallel realities. But to keep society running as a whole, such government like monarchy or authoritarianism can impose basic rules for all of the inhabitants of the country. In parliamentarian system it will never work, because there will be always this or that faction that will try to abuse the situation, social divisions, for its own benefits. So we see that all politics of multiculturalism and other madhouse that we were fed for the last decades in the West, now it's falling and no one can deny it. And we see what's even the most scary, the scariest part of all of this, of all of these events, is that the political establishment is completely incompetent, completely paralyzed, and completely afraid of taking any a little bit more solid or radical decisions, because they always think, what about next elections? Maybe if things continue like this, there won't be any elections in the future. And there is one thing which I really like, because there is one video quite popular on the internet, that one imam is explaining in a very simple way to the European elites what they did wrong. As I mentioned in one of my previous videos about this topic, they were importing people from social margin from many countries. And social margin, as always, in most cases, will remain social margin, and this happened to France. But these countries from which these people were imported, or their ancestors, let's say, a little bit more, so these countries would handle their riots in the way similar or even more brutal than the way in which the establishment of the Indian state Gujarat handled its own crisis 20 years ago. But in Europe, we see that leftist group want to gain the popularity among these people for next elections. Other groups also would like to gain popularity among their opponents, so parliamentarism leads to the quicker distraction. Also, together with social welfare and socialism, when we have such mixture like in France, now we see everything blows up into the air. And these things will repeat, and as long as state doesn't take proper measures, the measures I mentioned in the earlier part of this video, problem will not be solved. And if it continues for too long, of course France will completely disintegrate and fall. These are the simple rules of the history, and if we want to know more and be better educated and be immune, resistant to the idiocy that many so-called sociologists or psychologists who are now talking in media telling bullshit, nothing else. So how to be resistant on the bullshit from the side of the experts? It's easy. One needs to read books of Felix Konechny, like Plurality of Civilization, books of Arnold Toynbee, books of Oswald Spengler, and one can read also books of Samuel Hutchinson. Then we will see that such really dystopian model called multicultural society will not work, cannot work, and doesn't work as we see now. One cannot deny the reality, because otherwise reality will always kick us back really badly, and it's now happening to France. How it will end, we will see. All the best, have a nice day, bye.